Welcome to Module 3 of Live Success Now. I am pleased to be here with you, and I am grateful that you are sharing this, your journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment with me. If you have completed all the exercises in Module 2, you have successfully created the opening purpose statement of your life master plan. I understand that it was tough work and you may have resisted doing it or attempted to do it as minimally as possible. But if you have taken the time to go through that process properly with insight and integrity, you will have come to a place where you know yourself better and you will have come into a greater congruity with your true self. That puts you into an advantageous position over the majority of people and greatly facilitates your ability to create a successful and fulfilling life. Now, in Module 3, it is time to flesh out that purpose statement and design the practical steps needed to actualize or materialize the ideals that you have chosen to be the guiding force that will determine the overall direction of your life. This session will enable you to complete the creation of your life master plan by setting out a definite and specific game plan for you to follow. You will be creating a future timeline, projecting your imagination into the future, and defining your reality picture by creating a step-by-step plan for you to implement. Oh, and by the way, I hope that you are watching these videos, not just listening to the audio tracks. The images I have chosen have been selected to help anchor this information into long-term memory. Now, before we get to that bit of work, creating that future timeline, let's take a little stroll into human imagination. The Great Pyramids of the Giza Plateau are amongst the most famous of historical artifacts. They are impressive physical constructs. However, they were once only non-physical ideals existing in the imagination of the original architects. They were first envisioned. The engineering plans were then drawn up. Then those plans were implemented step by step. These great monuments were first created in the human imagination and then became a manifest reality. They were envisioneered into existence. They were remembered into existence. Let me say that again. They were remembered into existence. As each limestone block was put in place, it was done so according to the memory of the plan created in the imagination of the architect, the memory of the vision created in the imagination of the human being who imagined their existence in the first place, the memory of the conceptualized future reality. We are all accustomed to remembering the past. In fact, we think of memory as being a catalog of the past, but that is not entirely true. Think about how memory works. Let's define memory as being the capacity to sort through the various files you have stored in your mind and the ability to select and then focus your attention on to bring to the forefront of your mind a particular file or set of files. The focus of your attention in any given moment on any particular mental file transforms it from a random stored away file into part of your current reality picture. You may think of it as a memory, but simply because you focused your attention on some file contained in mind, it becomes current, part of your present moment, part of what you imagine to be real. It evokes not just an image, but any attached emotional content and any relationships it has to other memories or feelings. Now think about this. Many people have false memories that are as real for them as actual historical events. They can describe fully and completely and truthfully some event that never actually occurred. And we all know that different people can have substantially different memories of the exact same event that both witnessed. So, we can see that memory cannot be defined as a factual or accurate listing of only historical events. Nevertheless, many people believe that only those files that catalog previous events are pictures of reality, and believe that future imaginings are only fantasies or wishful thinking. We can all gaze at those pyramids and recognize them to be part of our collective historical past, forgetting that before the first stone was laid in place, they already existed as a file in the minds of the original planners. And so long as your attention is placed on them now, they are also a part of your current reality, and any beliefs, ideas, or emotions you have attached to them will become part of your present moment as well. Let's say, for example, at some point in your life, you read a book about how the classical accepted history of the pyramids is false, that they are not tombs built for pharaohs some 4,500 years ago, and that they are much, much older than that, and have a much grander and more mysterious purpose, having to do with extraterrestrial folks or a previous highly advanced human civilization. And you totally bought into that theory. Your file has been modified. Now, your memory evoked by this image of the pyramids is substantially different than the one held by some other person who has only ever been exposed to the typical story told to school kids. All of a sudden, we see that the context in which it is held is at least as important as the content held. Now, please pay close attention to what I say here. When you focus your attention on any file you have stored in mind, it becomes your current reality picture. And then, if and when your attention moves to focus on anything else, that file becomes stored away in memory. When you select a file of any ideal you have conceptualized, idealized, and envisioned, and then place your undivided attention on that image, it becomes part of your actuality, part of your reality picture, and a part of what makes up who you are. And if you then move the focus of your attention, get distracted, say, to anything else, say that pretty red sports car that just drove by, then the visualization of that idealization you had in mind a moment ago just became a memory. And that red sports car is now your present reality picture. And the idealization stored away as a file is as real and tangible as any other memory you have stored away. As I explained in Module 1, everything that has ever happened to you is a historical artifact, and only that which you currently hold in mind or place your attention on is your current reality, whether that is your self-image or the image of anything else that you have created in your imagination. Your ability to conceptualize and idealize is therefore your power to create reality. One more thing I would like you to recognize is that for the original architects, those pyramids were more real before they were actually built than they are for those of us today who never bring them to mind. Even before that first cornerstone was put in place, they were seen as real to them as was the Nile River that flowed past a little distance away. Now ask yourself this question. Are these great pyramids even part of the reality picture of someone who is completely ignorant of their existence? Of course not. For those folks who do not know that they were even built, they do not exist any more than the pyramids on Mars exist, at least for those of us who have not bought into that particular conspiracy theory. Speaking of Mars, did the Falcon Heavy rocket that launched Elon Musk's cherry red Tesla Roadster towards Mars exist prior to its construction in 2017? Actually, yes, it did. It existed in the imagination of Mr. Musk and in the minds of the few folks who believed in his vision. How did it get from his imagination to that historical launch on February the 6th of 2018? That happened through the implementation of a step-by-step engineering plan or future timeline. After that momentous launch, did it only then become part of Elon Musk's memory? No, it was already there. The actual so-called real-world event was only the proof of the belief in his vision. The vision he created in his imagination was the originating memory, not the actual event. That is what you are about to create. The future timeline, the step-by-step plan, the mental image that can be remembered into existence. You will be remembering the future, a future of your own design, the same as those pyramids were designed and Musk's rockets were designed in human imagination. You will be creating files in mind or imagination, and then remembered into existence through the focus of attention and intentional action. This is important, so please make note of it. Any new file created in imagination and stored in mind is as real as any other files you may have stored in mind, especially if you have attached a strong emotional content to that file. Remember that you are the one that prioritizes and places your attention on anything, thereby making it part of your current reality picture. It is your choice to make anything relevant and to choose why it is relevant. You have many, many times in your life chosen to make many of your experiences or files completely irrelevant. In fact, you may have forgotten their existence completely. You made a choice about the relevance. Likewise, you can choose to place high or low priority on any past, present, or future files, such as your specific ideals and defined goals. All right. I hope you have paper and pen at hand again so that we can create some more of that neuromuscular magic. Actually, I hope you have not just a pen, but your colored pens, highlighters, and maybe even some glitter at hand. Before we dig into this process, there are a few things I need to say as a preamble, to set the stage, so to speak, so that we can write this movie script together. First, I would like to remind you that In our next module, which is entitled Engaging the Infinite, we are going to explore in greater depth those internal determining factors we touched on briefly in Module 1, plus delve into some of the metaphysical principles that you can use to make manifest a physical reality of your envisioned future. Those same principles that cause universe to come into being in each new quantum moment. And second, I would like to remind you about the subject of specific intent I talked about in Module 1. I suggested there that you develop the personal self-discipline to always ask yourself why you are thinking what you are thinking, why you are doing what you are doing, and how does it serve you. Here, I would like to ask you to ask yourself, as you are creating the plan to enact your ideal, why is it that you wish to have that ideal become part of your actualized reality? I ask you to get clear about your intent. It is your why that will become your motivating force. It is your why that clarifies the value you hold for that particular ideal. And it is your why that defines how congruent that ideal is with your core values. It is your why that will give greater priority to your ideals than to your past experiences. And it is your why that keeps you on course to your defined ideal. Allow me to provide you with an analogy. In the almost 15 years that I lived in the Caribbean, I did a lot of sailing. And those sailing experiences taught me a few things about the sea, about sailing, about myself, and about life. This is one example of the things that I learned. When you pull up anchor, leave the safe harbor behind, and set sail out to your chosen destination, let's say that next island over, you soon discover that because of the changing conditions of wind, waves, and ocean currents, you are actually off course about 99% of the time. It is either the actual view of your destination, say the harbor in the next island over, or if you cannot actually see that next island over, the plotted course on a map and your compass or GPS heading that allows you to self-correct and stay on course in order to arrive at where you want to end up. Likewise, when you set sail toward a goal to arrive at a defined ideal, the unanticipated changing conditions of what life throws at you will tend to push you off course much of the time. Your why becomes your compass that enables you to self-correct and stay on course. So, setting the goal in life provides your desired destination, but without the why or compass, the changing conditions of life will blow you off course, and you will get lost at sea or arrive at some unknown and unanticipated place that you had not expected to end up at. If you look with clear eyes, I think you can see that those folks who do not have a strong enough, a defining passion, a defined why, will always end up someplace in life that is different than what they wanted or anticipated. While those folks who do have a strong, clear why end up, despite the winds of change and the invisible currents of life's pressures, at their defined destination. So, if you know where you are headed and why you want to get there, chances are you will arrive. That is why your why is so important. All right, let's continue now by creating the details of your life master plan. We are now going to create a 5-year strategic plan. Why 5 years? because 5 years is a short enough time frame for you to see it as being reachable. And it is a long enough period of time for you to imagine yourself making major changes and achieving massive accomplishments. So it is now time to move from the general ideals to the specific goals. In this exercise, your first step is to write down where, in each of those 5 areas of your life, you would ideally like to be 5 years from today. You are going to turn those ideals you have already created into tangible and specific goals. You have already chosen your 10 primary ideals. It is time to take 10 pieces of paper, one for each of those identified ideals, and imagine where you will be in 5 years with regard to each of those. Ask yourself exactly what you desire to accomplish or attain in regard to that expressed ideal. You have already written out the reasons you chose that particular ideal and have already written down the benefits you expect to receive from having that ideal be part of your life. Now, it is time to let your mind run free again and imagine what specific goals you would love to have accomplished in 5 years' time that are in tune with that ideal, which of course is also in alignment with your core values. For example, you might write down that in 5 years, depending on which ideals you have selected in the mental and educational aspect, that you will have gotten that college degree in psychology, or that you will have read 60 good nonfiction books on a particular subject that will serve to enhance the way you go about creating your success, or that you will have mastered a specifically named new skill set. And by the way, experts tell us that it takes 10,000 hours of practice to achieve mastery of a new skill. So 5 years gives you plenty of time to do that. Maybe one of the ideals that are part of your material and financial aspect is that you will be able to put your children through university. So you set a specific goal that you have placed $25,000 into a child's educational savings account by the time 5 years has elapsed. Or you have an ideal of building an investment portfolio that will enable you to retire with complete financial freedom. So you set a specific goal that you have purchased an investment property in Portugal within 5 years. Or you have an ideal of owning your own business. So you set a specific goal that your new business has just surpassed $17 million in sales at the end of year 5. Spiritual and ethical ideals? Perhaps you will have become a master meditator and teacher. Or you will have gotten that divinity degree and become a pastor in a church. Or you will have become a practicing shaman. It's up to you. The point is that you are creating specific, tangible, and achievable goals that you intend on achieving within the next 5 years. The trick is to be specific. If you have an ideal of becoming a respected best-selling author, writing down that you will become a published author by the time 5 years has gone by is not specific enough. To write down that in 5 years, I will have written 2 books about consciousness and creativity that have each sold at least 10,000 copies is specific. So, 10 pieces of paper, one for each specified ideal, then write down a list of specific goals on each piece of paper related to that ideal that you can see yourself accomplishing in the next 5 years. Allow your imagination to stretch a bit. If it comes to mind, write it down, even if it seems improbable to you. Fill up each page and have fun with it. Okay, hit pause. See you back here when you have done that bit of work. Welcome back. You have filled up your 10 pages with a bunch of potential 5-year goals. But let's face it, some of those are whimsical, maybe even just wishful thinking. And some are actual items that tug at your heartstrings and appear more solid to you. You need now to pare each list down to the top 5 priorities. Don't worry, you can add more later to the list, but for now, you want to get focused on a maximum of 5 items from each of the 10 pages. To do this, it will help to prioritize each item on each list by grading them from 1 to 5, with 5 being the most important and 1 being the least important. And then narrow down your list to an absolute minimum of 2 and a maximum of 5 items on each page, and then transfer all of these to one single page as shown on this slide. Take a break now, go do that work, and I will see you back here when you are ready to move on. Welcome back. One more time. So, you now have a list of 20 to 50 things you have specified as your 5-year goals. Let's look at how to use engineering principles and project management skills to create a plan to turn those goals into a manifest reality. I have relatives who are project managers for large multi-million-dollar construction projects. They have headed up construction projects like hospitals and airports and large housing projects and big infrastructure projects. They are trained project managers. So, what is project management? The definition of project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to meaningful and productive project activities in order to meet the project requirements. And project management processes fall into 5 groups or stages. Number 1, initiating or kicking off the project. Number 2, planning the details of the project. Number 3, executing the details of the project or doing the work. And number 4, monitoring or controlling the project. And at the end, number 5, closing or ending the project. There are 9 major steps in this tried and proven project management process that you can apply to the way you go about achieving anything in life. And they are: number 1, envision the outcome. In other words, create the architectural drawings in your mind. Number 2, define the details. And this is analogous to creating the engineering drawings. So define the details. Number 3, impose a timeline. This is like creating the project plan of action within the defined time span. A construction project has to be finished by a certain date, okay? Number 4, set immediate goals. What has to happen first, and then next, and then the next thing, etc. Number 5, get to work. Do the day-to-day. In other words, you plan your work and then you work your plan. Number 6, as you go along, you review and adjust. You measure your progress and identify shortcomings. And number 7, of course, you persist. You keep doing the doing and you keep repeating step number 6 and going until the successful conclusion of the project. And number 8, at the end, you celebrate and move on to the next project. I think you can now see that this is exactly the process that we are going through here. And now we are at the point where you're going to create that future timeline that will serve as the memory implant and will become that movie script in which you play your starring role part. The first step in this stage of the process is to start with the end or successful completion in mind and work backwards in stages until you arrive at the present moment. This is exactly the way they do it. Where will you be in 5 years? And then in 3 years, in 1 year, in 180 days, in 90 days, in 1 month, 30 days. Write all that down so that it becomes a clear, sensible projection that you can see yourself following. Make it logical to engage your left brain, and as you write it down, imagine it unfolding and get excited about it so that your right brain is also engaged. Now, your next step is to detail an immediate working plan. You may wish to pause here and come back, but I'm going to go straight into the next step. You have, if you have done the work outlined, created a planning document, a project management timeline that outlines the progress of the realization of your ideals and specific goals, the outline of the steps you need to follow on the path to success. Now you get down to the nitty-gritty details of what you will be focused on enacting day to day. Ask yourself, what exactly do I need to get done in the next 30 days in order to create real, meaningful progress towards that 5-year plan? Then, what do I need to do in the next 2 weeks or 15 days? The next 7 days, the next 72 hours, the next 24 hours, what do I need to get done? Do that, and you will know exactly what to do with your time, what exactly you need to focus your attention and energy on enacting immediately. So now everything becomes simple. Each day begins with that review and adjust process we talked about in the project management process a few minutes ago. You have a to-do list that needs to get updated daily. And the best way to do that is to create a ta-da list. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the expression ta-da, it is used as a congratulatory expression when something has been successfully accomplished. I accomplished this. Ta-da! At the end of every day, take a few minutes to review your day and make note of what you have accomplished and what is being in the process of being accomplished, and what immediate steps are yet undone. This will become your daily working document. It is both celebratory and at the same time denotes what is outstanding on your to-do list. After a little effort at getting into the habit of doing this, it will become a very pleasant 5 to 10 minute task at the end of your day. And the rewards you get from taking on this new habit will become apparent very quickly. And by the way, these 4 templates that I breezed by fairly quickly are available to you at lesliefeger.com/templates. Okay, I want to congratulate you for having done this work. Having specific, written, time-related goals is the single biggest thing you can do to ensure that you go on to create the success you desire. Study after study has shown that those people who have written goals and refer to them daily create success. In fact, those studies all show that more than 90% of people who write down their specific goals go on to accomplish them. And sadly, those same studies show that those people who do not have written goals do not accomplish anything extraordinary with their lives. So the choice is yours. Write down those goals and create the success you desire, or accept the fact that you have chosen mediocrity. Reviewing your goals, noting your progress, and reminding yourself of what is ahead of you each and every day will produce results that will astound you and give you a sense of the progress you are making. That will produce satisfaction. That satisfaction provides motivation. Satisfaction that you are on track, that you are in control, that you know exactly where you're going and how to get there will impel you forward to keep going. Now, there is one more thing to do before we conclude this module. You need to now anchor all this to prioritize these mental files so that they can easily be accessed, to be brought to your full attention, and be made meaningful enough to you to become a dominant part of your reality picture. And that is accomplished by attaching emotional content to these mental files. The best ways that I know of to accomplish that is by doing two things. First, set aside 30 minutes of uninterrupted time as soon as possible. Sit comfortably, breathe slowly and consciously for a few moments until you are relaxed and your mind is settled. And then, one by one, focus your attention on each of those 5-year goals and allow yourself to fully feel how wonderful it is going to be to have all that be a part of your life. See yourself living in that reality picture and feel that sense of fulfillment. Feel that pride in having achieved what you set your mind to accomplish. And feel that joy in knowing that you are living up to your potential. And second, every single night from here forward, as you review your ta-da list just before going to sleep, say thank you for the existence of those goals. Express your gratitude for all that you are in the process of creating. Those two intentional bits of internal work will help ensure that those determining factors we talked about in Module 1 are in alignment with your stated core values, your principal ideals, and your specified goals. You will become ever more emotionally attached. You will be in tune. You will be powerful. And you will be living on purpose. All right. Now I have some good news for you. The tough work is done. You can relax. You may, if you wish to take notes, bring your pen and paper to the next module, but I will not be assigning any homework. Our next module is about how to ensure this work you have done becomes a natural flow and becomes integrated with what we talked about in Module 1, those internal determining factors. So when you have completed the work laid out in this module and are ready to integrate all this and to engage the creative principles of the universe, I will see you in Module 4. Ciao for now.